All right, everyone, we start off with train derailment updates, especially the aftermath politically for the Biden administration. Link in the description, archived, of course. We're at that strange Bedfellows moment right now, where a nexus of people that don't really like the neoliberalism of the Biden administration, they're totally dogpiling Pete Buttigieg, the transport secretary. It looks an awful lot like what we saw after Hurricane Katrina back during the W years. Some of you whippersnappers are too young to remember that. So a brief recap. Massive ass hurricane slams into the southern coast of the United States. Knocks out a huge proportion of New Orleans. Does heavy damage to other coastal city areas. Hundreds of thousands of people displaced. Of course, we don't have that right now based on the Eastpalestine train derailment, but yeah, you're going to get some cancer clusters, I think. I think it'll be more significant than people are currently estimating that it will be. My feeling is if a truly independent group went in and tested the soil and the water anywhere near the derailment or downwind, they would find contaminants that are potentially above legal levels. Even the EPA is swooping in to try to run cover by saying, it's basically Norfolk Southern's problem. The train system that they were running was slipshod, and there are people corroborating that basic premise. By the way, they didn't tell you about all the chemicals that were released anyway. There were those that are worse than the vinyl chloride that were released in considerable amounts. Whoops. Pete Buttigieg has effectively sat down and done nothing with regards to this, barely addressing it. The other day, he started joking about weather balloons effectively when queried about this derailment. So now enter J.D. Vance and Ilhan Omar. They are as far apart as opposites on the political spectrum as you could get. Ilhan Omar, of course, the far-left Democrat. She's part of the Progressive Caucus, the Regressive Caucus. Leftoid, insane, fiscally especially. And she's not even liked by a lot of Democrats because she's so out there. And J.D. Vance, he's the full-throated, most high-level endorsee for Trump's re-election bid, at least at the moment, that's actually got a political position. He wanted to be the first to get it on paper. Yeah, damn right, I'm Trump 24. Of course I am. Endorsee, rather far right. He's core MAGA. More so than like a Mehmet Oz or somebody like that. They're uniting right now to say, well, there are some significant questions here that we need answers to. And Vance, of course, is a senator. He's pledging to open an actual investigation into what happened. And the left is threatening to do the same at the House level. You're going to end up with a situation where the left fringe of the Democratic Party and the populists in the GOP are effectively uniting for a common political cause over this. That's sort of the post-Katrina thing that happened. Republicans that really had soured on the Bush admin tacitly joined, at least quietly off the record, with the Democrats to dogpile the Bush administration. Bush's support thereafter went into a death spiral and really crippled the last couple years of his presidency. I think that may be what ends up happening here. Also, it has an interesting impact on the 24 race. Because Buttigieg is the transport secretary, and I've said for years now, since the last election, Buttigieg was a better shot at non-honkingly defeating Donald Trump in 2020. He is reasonably young. He's not very politically experienced, and we'll get into how this casts a dark shadow over his obvious presidential ambitions, which I think he does have. Reasonably young, reasonably well-spoken. He's not liked by the left, but he has the core neoliberals aboard, and he seems a little bit less vicious to members of the right generally than other members of the Biden admin. So think of Kamala Harris or even Biden himself. As a result, he's near the front of the pack should Biden choose not to run, and it looks like he might be crazy enough to actually launch a presidential bid. That'll go over really well. He would be near the front of the list and for 28 as well, if he does a good job, but he's not. He's getting dogpiled now by members of his own party, AOC and Ilhan Omar, etc., as well as the MAGA groups. I've noted libertarians are weighing in on this, and that basically there are four groups of people that care about the derailment. Because the legacy media is still trying to brick wall major coverage of it, except in the most topical treatments, because they realize that something significant has happened, and it's bad for the unipartyists, which are led, kind of, by Joe Biden. You've got the far left that doesn't like the neoliberal core because it keeps blocking them. You've got MAGA, which doesn't like the neoliberals for obvious political reasons. Libertarians, and then you get like the black-pilled side of YouTube that thinks, well, the half of America just got Chernobylized. By the way, that's not actually the case. The level of chemicals released will cause health problems down the road in over years. It is definitely a cover-up. It's a very significant environmental disaster and a human disaster as well. There will be people that die as the result of the train derailment, probably thousands of them. It's not actually going to turn Kentucky into a wasteland, though. You will get acid rain. You will have carcinogenic compounds there tainting your soil in that general region. It's not exactly a Chernobyl moment. It's just a major environmental disaster. By the way, another train derailment yesterday in Texas. That one appears to have been caused by a car improperly crossing, so that's, it's not quite the same. They didn't have to dig a trench and burn a bunch of hazardous materials. Although, once again, there were hazardous materials aboard that train, too. They just happened to be properly contained at this time. We'll see if that situation ends up changing at some point, or whether they've learned their lesson. The problem is that Transport Secretary Buttigieg is taking lumps from within his own party. If you cancel out Buttigieg and his viability, which this could feasibly do, and I know that the Republicans would like to do that preemptively because they're not big on having to run against the dude. If that ends up happening, that really thins the 24 field, because who other than Biden with his incumbency would even have a shot? It's certainly not Kamala. Maybe Elizabeth Warren rises back up. They get Klobuchar 2.0 this time around. Because the field is so weak, even she looks viable or something like that. The strange Bedfellows side of it is second only to the cover-up aspect here. It looks an awful lot like the company was making safety cuts. The government did nothing about this, by the way. They were transporting a massive amount of chemicals, and they ended up determining, hey, we're going to have no choice but to burn these into a trench. Yeah, the people downwind will get a little bit something extra tonight in their river water. And their fishing won't be as good this spring. Now, how sad, but they don't care about the little people. They just want to make money. We got to get this train line moving again. Quick, dump the chemicals. We'll burn it off. A few hours later, we'll be able to move the wreckage and get back to the business of transporting hazardous waste, which we're obviously so good at. It does look like a Katrina moment, assuming that it ever gains greater coverage. Again, the only legacy journo that went there was arrested initially. Even that, which should be, that's an attack on the rights of the press, and the press didn't even really say anything. They had topical coverage on page B. Fox covered it, again, controlled opposition legacy network, writ large. Other than that, and only for political reasons, where's the coverage of this? A bunch of people were just exposed to hazardous material as part of a potential major cover-up involving the Ohio state government, number one, EPA lack of oversight, number two, and a corrupt corporation. I would think the Dems would be all over this. Aren't corporations evil and bad and wrong and run by a bunch of morons that are evil too? I thought corporations bad, but only the far left of the party seems to be asking any legitimate questions about this. Very, very strange, Bedfellows, indeed, you'll agree. That's about all. Peace out.